I have taught guys that literally look like unfrozen cavemen to pull girls consistently when before they were never able to do so. Attraction is not a choice. The ability to elicit attraction is nothing but a skill set. Women are hardwired to choose certain things in men, and they will make a hard pass on you if you do any of these 10 different things.
The Unapologetic Man Podcast.
In a recent study, a bunch of convicts were asked to pick a victim from watching video of a bunch of people walking by. They asked 1,000 different convicts who they would choose to victimize, who they would choose to rob, who would they choose to mug out of a bunch of different people walking by. And get this, boys, 89% of the convicts chose the same people. Why is that? Well, it's pretty obvious when looking at the mind of a convict, right? If you were a convict and you wanted to rob somebody, what would you look for? You would obviously look for weak body language. Somebody who looks like they have money. Somebody who looks like they can't defend themselves. Somebody who basically looks like a pussy. That's how they choose victims, and it's the same thing with women. Women are hardwired to choose certain things in men, and they will make a hard pass on you if you do any of these 10 different things. So we're going to jump into the content, gentlemen, but I always want you to understand that women basically all think the same way. Even if you're in a different country, if you're in a different culture, hell, I used to live in Japan, and compared to the United States, girls are completely attracted to the same thing. So if you've somehow convinced yourself that it's different, if you've somehow convinced yourself that all they want is money, which I know a ton of you guys have convinced yourself that is the truth, it's complete bullshit, by the way. They don't want money. They want signs of future success. That's what they look for. And money happens to be one of them. But if you've convinced yourself that as long as you have money, as long as you achieved a career, girls will suddenly get attracted to you, well, you successful guys listening who don't necessarily do well with women, you know the answer to that. It is not the case. Gentlemen, I want you to listen very carefully. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your ethnicity is. I don't care how tall you are or how much money you have in the bank. If you do these things, or I should say if you avoid doing these things, and you are able to flip attraction hot switches in women's heads, which is very logical and it is a skill set you can learn, any one of you can get good with women. Any one of you. I have taught guys that literally look like unfrozen cavemen to pull girls consistently when before they were never able to do so. Attraction is not a choice. The ability to elicit attraction is nothing but a skill set. And these 10 signs, I want you to really be down to the penny honest with yourself and ask yourself, do I have some of these signs? Because if you do, you could fix them. That's the beautiful thing about being a man. You do not have to be relegated to your current level of attractiveness, your current level of success with women. You can improve, and this episode is to help you improve. So let's get into the content. So just like convicts who chose a guy to mug, one of the worst things you can do is to have bad body language, rounded shoulders, your head sunken into those shoulders, taking up as little space as possible, not walking with your spine erect, but instead walking with a hunched back, looking down at the ground, basically looking defeated. Convicts will target you because somebody who doesn't look confident probably isn't going to fight for what is theirs. Whereas a guy who has his head held up high, who has an erect spine, who has his shoulders back, and who's walking with confidence is less likely to be mugged. Coincidentally, women are attracted to the exact same thing. A guy who has rounded shoulders, who's staring at the ground while he walks, or when he's in a booth, he stuffs himself in the smallest space possible so as not to rock the boat. This is unattractive to women because women are attracted to confidence. On that note, guys who make fast movements are unattractive to women. Let me explain why. A guy who's moving quickly basically subcommunicates that he's terrified of his environment. He's looking around real fast. His eyes are darting around the room. It shows that he's scared and he doesn't have self-confidence to deal with whatever might pop off. And I believe this too is what convicts look for. If you walk through some like ghetto ass neighborhood that you're not familiar with, you're going to be just as scared as if you were walking through like a dark forest. You're going to be looking around. Your pupils are going to be dilated. Your eyes are going to be darting everywhere. And people who are convicts are going to be targeting you, because you look afraid. The best thing you can do in an uncomfortable environment is to look comfortable in that environment. So let's say you have to pull off the road and go to some seedy ass gas station, and there's a bunch of drug addicts around, a bunch of guys who look like they would mug you without a moment's hesitation. Man, you better stand tall. You better be having slow movements, not look scared. And if you're packing, have that shit on you. Because here's another study, and I don't necessarily recommend conceal carry, although I used to do it. But interestingly enough, 93% of the time when somebody's mugged and they produce a firearm, the assailant runs away and they don't get mugged. So whether you choose to carry a gun or not, that's obviously up to you. But at the minimum, boys, at least work on yourself, be confident, walk as if you can carry yourself, and walk as if you will fight. As I always say, the day may come where you have to fight for your life. The real question is, have you trained to do so? I know I have. I want to ask if you have. I don't want to be in a situation where somebody breaks into my house and tries to kill me or my family, worse yet, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. That's why I've been training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, mixed martial arts, which is a huge recommendation for you guys who don't know how to defend yourself. Because not only can convicts see it, but women can see it as well. They can see a guy who can't handle himself. They can see a guy who's not confident in his environment, and it's extremely unattractive. So, sunken shoulders, rounded back, head sunken down, looking at the ground, eyes darting everywhere, basically telegraphs fear and is attractive, coincidentally, to convicts, but is unattractive to women. The next thing that women find repulsive is how you react to others. And I'm actually really enjoying this convict analogy because I watch a lot of like jail videos and like what it's like to be in on the inside. I know I'll never end up there unless somebody hurts my daughter. That's literally the only way I would end up in prison. But I'm super fascinated with it because it's like base human psychology. It's us in our most animal form. Well, when you react to others, meaning when somebody can get a reaction out of you when you're speaking to them, that shows low value. Let's take the convict example of a new guy who comes into the prison. Well, when he's speaking to other people, if he laughs easily, if he looks up to other people and does what they do, if he's reacting to others, getting easily butthurt, not controlling the frame, which of course is always what I talk about in this podcast, he's showing low value. He's showing that he's a beta cuck. He's a follower. Say, for example, a bunch of convicts are all sitting at a lunch table out in the mess area, and they're all playing blackjack. And it's funny, the jail videos I watch, they're like, dude, when you play blackjack in jail, you got to be looking at your cards like you're looking at a diamond, because there's probably going to be a guy standing behind you, peeping your cards and telling his friend about what cards you have. So he's like, when you check your cards, you got to look at them like you're looking at a diamond. So you're looking at your cards like you're looking at a diamond, and there's a guy there who's very reactive to what the alpha male does. The alpha male cracks a joke that really doesn't even make any sense. The beta cuck guy starts laughing. Even though it isn't funny, the beta cuck will laugh and be reactive to other people to try to do what? To try to get into rapport with them. Whereas the alpha is not so easy to laugh at a joke that isn't funny. If it's not funny, he's not going to laugh because he's not trying to get into rapport with anybody. Women too are attracted to that alpha guy who is the leader, who isn't reactive, who's basing his own reaction off what's going on inside of him, not basing his reaction off what's going on outside of him. So if they're in a group and somebody says something and everybody laughs, but the alpha male doesn't think it's funny, he won't laugh. And this is a sign of a low value male. He's constantly looking to others for validation, for leadership, for what's funny, for what are we going to talk about, for even where are we going to go eat? Okay, guys, whatever you want, let's go do that. And think about the beta cuck on a date with a girl. What does he do? He's like, I don't know where I want to eat. Where do you want to eat? And he lets her lead him to where she wants to eat. Horrible way to do it. Instead, what you could do at the very most is you say, hey, would you prefer to have hamburgers tonight or sushi? And she's like, I think I feel like a hamburger tonight. You'd be like, perfect. Come on, let's go. And you take her there. That's leading women to where they want to be led. Whereas the beta cuck is reactive to her. He lets her lead. The next one, boys, is he's highly agreeable. I touched on this before, but he's always agreeing both with what the alpha male convict does as well as what the hot girl does. She likes basketball. Suddenly he likes basketball too. She likes sushi, and even though the last time he ate it, he got projectile diarrhea that fucking hit the ceiling, he says that he likes it. How many of you guys have seen a beta cuck like this agreeing with everything the girl likes? Like she likes synchronized swimming. Homeboy's in the pool in a little Speedo with one of those fucking nose clips doing upside down somersaults trying to prove to her that he likes it too. Horrible boys. I'm going to tell you something. It's just as effective, if not more effective, to be disagreeable with a girl than it is to be agreeable with her. To say, hey, I don't agree with what you just did, or I don't agree that that's the best football team or the best college or the best thing to eat. You are crazy if you believe that. And this is what the alpha male does. He's willing to disagree with her. He's even willing to argue with her in a composed way without getting butthurt, very important, but he's willing to argue with her when he doesn't agree with her. Whereas the guy who's creepy and unattractive is super agreeable. And the reason it's creepy is because you can feel he's manipulating you. Just like the beta cuck who goes into prison because he finger blasted some girl's butthole who was underage, and now all the other dudes are labeling him a chomo. He's way fucked. He goes in, he is going to be agreeable. He is not going to want to argue with anybody, but that looks manipulative. It looks fake because people are thinking, what's your real opinion, dude? What do you really stand on this? Are you just trying to finger blast me and leave a used condom in my butt? Like, why are you lying about this? People who are disagreeable are often alpha, but there is a caveat. Not being disagreeable with emotion, because what is emotion? Think about this. It's reactive, just like I talked about earlier. The reactive guy is reacting to what everybody else is doing. He's also easily emotional, which I'm going to touch on more in a second, so stay tuned. The guy who's good with women is on his inner balance point, and the guy who won't be butt raped by Big Ed in jail cell number 12 is the guy who's willing to be disagreeable, to say his opinion, but doesn't get emotional in the process, doesn't get angry, doesn't get butthurt, doesn't go down Flex Avenue. He's always on what I call your inner balance point. Guys who are bad with women are not on their inner balance point. They are agreeable because they're manipulators. The next one, and this is so huge with guys who are horrible with women, they do this thing I call disclaimer laugh. A little laugh after what you say because you're so insecure about asking that girl to go out with you that night that you do a little laugh afterwards. Hey, Kelly, do you want to go to the baseball game with me? I have tickets. Horrible boys. If you ever catch yourself doing the disclaimer laugh, do me a favor and smack yourself upside the head so hard when the concussion hits, it launches a fucking molar out of your mouth. Do not do the disclaimer laugh. I did it the other day. I'm going to be totally honest. I did it the other day and I was like, oh my God. I gave a look like I just sprayed myself with shit mist because that was absolutely insufferable. So if that's part of your personality, drop that shit immediately. The next one, boys, and this goes straight to the convicts. The convicts are looking for guys who are weak, basically skinny, don't lift weights, don't look like they can defend themselves, or fat. The best person to rob is basically a 55-year-old fat guy standing next to his Tesla. All you have to do is go over there and give that guy a shoulder bump, like a sparrow knocking over this big fat fellow. He falls over and then you jack his ride. Why is that attractive? First of all, because he's probably not going to fight back. He's out of shape. He's got no wind. Like when I used to be a bouncer and I would see a guy flexing up on another guy and he's fat, I would immediately say to my bouncer friends, I'm like, look at this guy. He's got no wind, dude. He would last literally 30 seconds. He's got 30 seconds of anger of like swinging as hard as he can, just doing haymakers and maybe going on the ground and wrestling for maybe 30 seconds before he's completely gassed. If you guys want to see how quickly you get gassed in a fight, go to a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy, put on the gi and roll on the ground with somebody. I guarantee you, if you haven't done it before or if you're not in really good shape, 30 seconds to a minute, you're fucking gassed. So that's what they look for. Guys who are out of shape, guys who are skinny, don't take care of themselves. Obviously, guys with money, but that's different with women. Women think the same thing. You get a guy who doesn't take care of himself. he's blown out, or he's so skinny, he's going to slip down the drain the next time he takes a shower. This is unattractive because it shows he can't handle himself in a fight. So how's he going to be able to protect me, she thinks, and our kids if I pair bond with this dude? He won't be able to. I'm telling you, boys, going to approach women, getting better at the skill set is the most important thing you can do. In addition to fixing the bullshit inside your head, feeling like an alpha, therefore acting like an alpha, which of course is exactly what I do in my 3-month coaching program. But one of the next best things is to learn to defend yourself. You will walk differently. You will talk differently. You will carry yourself like you never did before. Women react to that. And guys who are targeting you will react to it too and say, pass on that guy. Let's go for the next beta cuck. The next one is a high-pitched voice. Now this one, boys, I am completely guilty of. I did not get this shit fixed until my mid-20s. In fact, just to show you that I'm not perfect and I too still need some work, I am going to put a clip of me teaching English in Japan. I'm actually going to put the video of it too. So if you're kind of curious what I looked like when I was, I think, 27, I'm 48 now, by the way. So this was 21 years ago. When I was 27, I lived in Japan and I taught English. I recorded a video of me in Japan. Bear in mind, this is back in the early 2000s, so the video isn't that high quality, but listen to my voice. Liam, go ahead and Roger it up.
Okay, so first, Mazu Kazoku. Hello everyone, this is me teaching a class in Japan. This is actually my second to last class, so kind of sad right now, but I'm gonna make a speech to them, so please listen.
So you could see there, gentlemen, I had a very high voice and it took me a long time to work on it to get it into that alpha state. Now, is it perfect now? Of course it's not. But I had a girlfriend watch that video a couple weeks ago and she's like, oh my God, your voice is totally different. And I'm like, yeah, it's because my psychology is different. I've worked on myself so much. I've changed myself from that beta cuck. And by the way, at that time, I really didn't get many women. And interestingly, it was right around that time I started hardcore studying game. So it should show you just how much a guy can change, and you can change that much too. But because I changed my internal psychology, my voice literally changed in the process. And this can happen for you boys too. A guy with a high voice is a victim, and a guy with a high voice is unattractive. Next one, and I mentioned this previously, is a guy who's insecure, a guy who's beta and creepy to women, doesn't take up much space. So if he's sitting in a booth, he's going to like stuff himself in the smallest space possible so as not to rock the boat. Whereas a guy who's good with women will put his arms up on the booth, for example, will have his legs spread, will take up as much space as possible. Now, of course, this can get into obnoxious, but as long as you're taking up space, you're not afraid to be loud, which is another example I wasn't even going to mention. As long as you're willing to take up that space, both physically as well as audibly, that is attractive to women. It shows that you're alpha. The next one, boys, is poor hygiene. You ever see those dudes with those long ass peaky nails? It always seems to be the guys who play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm always like, dude, why are you rocking that? Are you like doing cocaine out of a bag and like grabbing it with your pinky nail? Like, why do people do that? Or like dirt under the nails, or like nasty ass hair on their face, like pubes, corkscrewing off their fucking chin. Like me, dude, when I try to grow a mustache, and in fact, I'm willing to rip on myself here. I'm actually going to have Liam, my podcast editor, put a picture of me when I tried to grow a mustache. Creepy as boys. That right there is the creepiest mustache ever. So you need to look at yourself and you need to say, you know what? Do I look good with this? How is my hygiene? If a girl looks at me, do I look like a homeless guy who lives in a fucking cardboard box? Poor hygiene is a sign of a guy who doesn't take care of himself. If he doesn't take care of himself, she thinks, how's he going to take care of me? How's he going to provide for a family? How is he going to be successful in this society? So taking care of yourself, plucking the unibrow, shaving the beard to where it looks good, losing weight, gaining muscle, and for God's sakes, getting the dirt out from underneath your fingernails. And I get it too. I'm always in the woods. But I run a tight battleship because girls notice this shit. And one other tip, boys, wasn't going to say this either. Look out for your shoes. If your shoes have holes in them, if they have duct tape on them, girls find that repulsive. Run a tight battleship. Bounce quarters off the bed. launch a fusillade of championhood off the starboard bow, and get that fucking girl. Next one, boys. A guy who's very angry. What does anger show? It shows that society is pushing on him. It shows that life is pushing on him. And because he doesn't have the wherewithal, the tools, the resources, and the self-confidence to deal with it, he's pissed off. And believe me, boys, there is much to be pissed off about in this life. I get it. But if you're reactive to it, going back to my point about being reactive, it shows her that you are insecure and unable to deal with life's circumstances. So anger, very unattractive. The last thing you should do when you get into an argument with a girl is get butthurt and pissed off and lash out at her with emotions. What did I say in one of my previous episodes? One of the worst things you can do is become emotionally weak for a woman. Getting angry in the presence of a woman is you becoming emotionally weak, and you have to avoid that at all costs. And the last one, gentlemen, I think I said I was going to give you 10, but obviously I always over-deliver, and I probably gave you more like 15. But the last one is dilated pupils. Going back to my point of your eyes darting around, you moving very quickly. It shows that you're fearful. I used to train guys in field, which means I would take them into bars and nightclubs and have them approach women. When I would tell them to go approach women and I would pressure them, I'd be like, go approach her, go approach her, go approach her. Their eyes would be fucking saucers because they would be terrified. Unfamiliar environment, fear of rejection, not knowing what to say, not knowing what to do. It was a bunch of terrifying shit stacked up one on top of the other. And I get it. But when girls would see those dilated pupils, it would immediately be a no-go. So why did I do it, you might ask? Well, I don't do that anymore. In fact, I highly disagree with the boot camp method, where you go to a boot camp for 2 days and they just have you open girl after girl after girl. Here's what I discovered in that method. A lot of the guys, I'd say about 40 to 50%, would give up within a couple months of doing the boot camp. Why is that? Because they experienced a ton of rejection. They were absolutely in a fear state, and it always didn't go so well for them. So instead, what I do in my program is I slowly inoculate them into approaching people. We have ways to completely sidestep rejection so they ease into it like an old man into a warm bath. Because if you chuck that old man into the hot bath, he might fucking burn his balls off. So when guys are very afraid, they will have dilated pupils, and this is unattractive to women because it shows he's not confident in his environment. So while the boot camp can quickly inoculate you and quickly get you used to opening women, and it does work for some people, a lot of people it doesn't work for because all it does is seed the fear deep inside of them, seed the fear in their subconscious mind. I instead sidestep rejection completely, slowly introduce them to approaching women and make it so that rejection can't happen until they've built the confidence to go for the phone number where rejection can happen. But by that time, they've built the armor, they've built the wherewithal, they've built the skill set to be able to deal with it. I find that to be much better. But the dilated pupils, same thing with the convict. He sees a guy walking through his neighborhood like with huge eyes, like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. Oh, this is a scary ghetto. He's going to get mugged, dude. Because the dilated pupils shows that he doesn't have confidence in his ability, therefore being an easy target and also being unattractive to women. Surprisingly, that which makes you a victim to convicts also makes you unattractive to women. So what do? We learn to defend ourselves. We walk with confidence. We know that we're a fucking champion and she's the one submitting the application. We are not reactive to her. We are not trying to agree with her. We are the leader and we focus and only trust our own internal filter to show us where to go next. Follow your own lead and walk further than those who have walked all over you. Love that line. So gentlemen, I hope you got something out of this episode. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe. It helps me tremendously. Also on Spotify, please leave a comment. If you could leave a review on iTunes, email me if you've done any of these things, and I will hook you up with a bunch of free perks. Help me out, gentlemen, trying to grow this positive message, and your help is greatly appreciated. I drop podcasts on Mondays and Thursdays, so please stay tuned for the next one, and I will see you in the next episode. What is up, brother? Just wanted to thank you sincerely for watching this episode. If you've gotten any value whatsoever out of my content, The single best way to help me is to like, comment, subscribe, leave me a review. You have no idea how much that helps me. Also, if you're struggling with women and you want to talk to me personally about how I can help you achieve your goals with women, sign up for my 3-month coaching program below and you and I will talk. Join us in the Unapologetic Army.